Hi there! Thanks for coming by PosterCentral.com's video blog today. I'm Pete Howard and got a '66 American Rolling Stones original advertising concert tour poster to show you here. And this one is pretty smallish in size. You can see it relatively sized to my hands and my head. I didn't take the measurements, but it's a fairly small cardboard piece, but definitely was printed in the spring of 1966 to sell tickets to this particular show outside of Boston. So here we have a show, actually, well, I'll give you a top to bottom on it first. There we go, there's a look at the top. And I'll sort of scroll down a little bit for you. And it's in Lynn, Massachusetts, which is about 10 miles. There's a Manning Bull, see that, in Lynn, Massachusetts. That's about 10 miles or so north of downtown Boston, so it really kind of is a Boston show. And again, the 1966 U.S. tour, which was the fifth trek of the Stones of America. What's kind of funny about this, you see Hubbub Productions there, presents. I love some of those small promoters back in the day, up at the top of the poster. There's the Hubbub mentioned over there. But it's kind of interesting to see this proclamation up in the upper right-hand corner. It says, you know, their first U.S. appearance of 1966 and only New England concert. Well, they're right in one instance and not in the other. It was their first U.S. appearance in 1966. It was the beginning of a tour, but it was not their only New England appearance, because just 3 days later this tour played in Hartford, Connecticut, definitely part of New England. But maybe, you know, the Old English group didn't quite know what New England was defined as. Who knows? Not sure. But anyway, so it's fun to find fun wording like that on a poster. So here you have the Stones on their fifth U.S. tour, and this was opening day, opening night, what have you, and they played a lot of days where they had 2 gigs in one day in different cities and stuff. They really worked hard, and what's interesting is that I already said that they're playing Hartford in 3 days. Well, the next night after this, they were playing 600 miles away in Cleveland, Ohio. So you know, the tours back then really crisscrossed sometimes, for the sake of convenience of getting the venues and all that stuff, when there were many fewer venues to hold big rock shows in. Now, the Stones were really, you can see their pictures in the ovals there. I always like to see the individual face shots instead of a group shot on this poster. Obviously, all 5 of them there. And the Stones, interestingly, their 4th U.S. tour, which I've also blogged, the big colorful globe poster, they sort of ignored 1964. Well, maybe they heard some complaints about that, because here on their 5th U.S. trek, they actually opened their shows with Not Fade Away, their first American hit. So it's nice to know they were back to playing Not Fade Away, always an important, I would think in the 60s, a really important Stones hit to hear. And interestingly, they had completely abandoned rhythm and blues covers on this 5th U.S. tour. No more R&B covers. Remember the previous tour and stuff? You know, they were doing things like, you know, Hitchhike, Marvin Gaye cover and all that stuff. Well, not on this tour. 0 R&B covers, so interestingly. Now, what's also worthy of noting on this poster is they didn't put the opening acts on the poster, and it's always fun to see those opening acts, but sometimes if you have a tour blank like this, and this was used for a few cities, this small size with this layout, you couldn't always rely on the same, you know, local acts being the opening bands, and so they're not on the poster. In this particular case, you had the Trade Winds from a Rhode Island group that had one big top 40 hit in the United States earlier this year, I should say in '65, and that's New York's a Lonely Town. You may recall that if you're a baby boomer who grew up on AM radio. And the Trade Winds, you know, they were a Rhode Island band, as I said, but one of their members actually went on to produce Kiss and Ringo Starr in the studio, so interesting note about that band. And since this was a Boston area concert, 10 miles north of downtown Boston, the Standells, even though they were a Los Angeles group, they were on the bill, and their first hit record, Dirty Water, was racing up the charts at the very time of the show, and you can just imagine the audience's reaction to Dirty Water when, you know, the Standells sang, "Boston, You're My Home." And of course, since then, the song has become sort of a sports anthem in Boston, even though the group was from Los Angeles. Now, the Stones themselves, great timing in their career, that's for sure. Paint It Black was the #1 record in the country just the previous week before this, in mid-June. So Paint It Black must have gotten a huge rousing ovation. And their current album was their greatest hits album, High Tide and Green Grass, which was in the national top 10. So high tide and green grass and paint it black. You just hear these things and you just go, oh, to go back to those days, you know, to go back and go to the show. Interesting detailed ticket information at the bottom of the poster. For some reason, I don't know why, but tickets were not sold at any record stores, as I get it in the viewfinder. There's ticket agencies, and there's a coffee house, and there's even 5 bowling alleys that you could buy tickets at, but no record stores. And why that is? I don't know. We'll have to get somebody from Hubbub Productions on the line to ask them, but I did my due diligence and couldn't find any trace of Hubbub. There's one in Atlanta now that's not related. So anyway, it's the Stones, not the promoter we're talking about here, and a really nice, not quite one-off. As I said, they used this for a couple of other cities at least, this template. But a really nice, smallish cardboard Stones concert poster from when Paint It Black was #1, and you can't do much better than that. 1966, summer had just started, so things were on fire. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this one today. Thanks for coming by, and we'll see you next time on PosterCentral.com. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.